This video was digitized from a photo collection I received from a Coast Guardsman by the name of Ferrel H Harvey, and he was a first-class fireman aboard Algonquin during this time, well, at least at Thanksgiving 1929, as he's listed as that in the Thanksgiving menu, which you'll see coming up. And just a fantastic look at his time aboard a Coast Guard cutter Algonquin from 1927 to 1930. And Algonquin was commissioned in 1898 as a revenue cutter. And then in 1915, when the revenue cutter service and the light saving service merged together to form the Coast Guard, she was renamed Cutter Algonquin. And I say just a fantastic photo collection here. The photos weren't marked, and they were randomly put into the album. But through a pretty extensive research, I was able to compile them in a chronological order, and that's the way I'm going to lay them out here for you. And I'll just jump in when needed to go ahead and explain some of these photos. But we're going to start off in Alaska in 1927, when Algonquin made her summer Alaska patrol from May 27th till the 16th of October, cruising over 11,000 miles from her home port in Astoria, Oregon. And on this cruise, Algonquin picked up 2 lost fishing ships by radio and set them safely back to their course by bearings given to them from their wireless. And then they picked up the motor ship Eider, a vessel operated by the Board of Fisheries, and the Eider had been adrift with a broken propeller shaft for several days. And when the Algonquin gave her a 200-mile tow to Unalaska, and then she brought medical aid to one of the fishing stations when she was called to assist a person there with an appendicitis. And then she made chart corrections in several Bering Sea charted areas. And although the captain, C.F. Howe, was quoted as saying the cruise was very uneventful, and there he is right there, C.F. Howe in 1927, and I assume with the mascot for Algonquin. And there he is again. And then a picture coming up of the officers of Algonquin in 1927. And as we get into 1928, it was a pretty small collection of photos from that year. And Algonquin really didn't get into too much. She didn't make an Alaska patrol. She did go as far north as Seattle in 1928 and did make a patrol down south off of Southern California. Probably the most notable event was May 12th. Commander C.F. Howe was replaced by Commander M.S. Hay. And towards the end of 1928, there was a lot of reporting about the Coast Guard moving Algonquin down to San Pedro, California, and replacing her in Astoria with the Coast Guard cutter Red Wing. And this picture here is, I believe, of Algonquin with Red Wing tied up behind her towards the end of 1928. And then these next several pictures are of when Red Wing came and replaced Algonquin in February of 1929. And then Algonquin shifted down to Coast Guard Base 17 in Los Angeles Harbor, or San Pedro. And one of the responsibilities Algonquin had operating out of San Pedro was enforcing prohibition. And on the 14th of March, she confiscated and towed the motor ship Kyanec into San Pedro, and the Kyanec was picked up alongside the British rum ship Capeman, anchored off the lower California coast, 25 miles before Ensenada. And this is HMS Colombo, a C-class light cruiser moored up at San Pedro. And then these follow-on pictures here are in San Pedro and also in San Francisco when Algonquin went up to be overhauled at Moore Shipyard in March. And this next set of pictures are when Algonquin was tasked with towing in several gambling ships that were anchored off the coast of San Pedro. And a newspaper article on the 20th of August said, "No longer may the gambling ships Joanna Smith and Monfalcone ply their trade on the high seas. Coast Guard cutters today were ordered to tow them to port, but not because they are gambling ships. The barges have been declared a menace to navigation. Several instances have been reported by other ships narrowly missing the gaming hulks. One in particular instance occurred while the Joanna lay off Point Mugu after she was driven from the local harbor. Orders were received yesterday from the Secretary of the Treasury to remove the barges as menaces to navigation. Commander Hay, commanding officer of Algonquin, went aboard the gaming vessels and found that they were no more than derelicts, since no regular sea watches were kept during the night and no effort to make them discernible in a fog has been made. Commander Hay today was to tow them in with the Coast Guard cutter Algonquin and the Coast Guard cutter Tamaroa." And then here's some additional photos of going out and getting the Joanne Smith and Monfalcone, and some other pictures just from this time frame when Algonquin was out patrolling off of San Pedro. And, they basically did search and rescue and during this time frame, and also assisted in looking over or standing by for several yacht races off of the California coast. And I don't know a lot about Ferrel Harvey, the owner of this photo album. I do know he went on to the cutter Itasca, and he served on board there as a chief water tender in the late 1930s, 38 to 1940. And he may have also served in World War II as an officer, as an engineering officer, but I can't confirm that. He also never identifies himself in any of these photos or photos I have of him on Itasca, so I can't point him out to you on here either. And while making a port call in San Diego, the crew of the Algonquin took the time to head out to the Marine Corps rifle range at La Jolla and practice their small arms marksmanship. And then a newspaper article said that when they got back underway, they were going to be practicing with their 3-inch gun off the coast of San Diego. But unfortunately, we don't have any pictures of that. But I also wanted to mention that I really enjoy the Art Deco framing of some of these pictures, so instead of cropping them down, I went ahead and left the Art Deco framing in. So I hope you enjoy that. And there was no mention of Algonquin being underway in November, so I assume they had their Thanksgiving dinner there at their home port at Bay 17 in San Pedro. And these next series of photos is from July 29th, 1930, and it's when Algonquin went out to assist the barkentine Centennial when she caught on fire, and she was 2 miles off of Long Beach, and had an explosion, which they think was caused by gasoline being stowed below decks, and that it ignited when a lantern had caused a spark or ignited the fumes. And 17 men were on board, but they were luckily able to get off because they had a speedboat tied to the side of Centennial, and the Centennial had been operating off the coast of Long Beach as a cafe and entertainment venue under the name Pirate Galleon. And as you saw in the previous photos, it was common to have these vessels anchored off the coast and be used as party ships during Prohibition. And the Centennial was built in 1875 in Boston and 190 feet long. Just as you could see, a very interesting old ship. And the Algonquin was the first on scene, and when she arrived, she sent a small boat over to try to unshackle her anchor chain so that they could tow her out to sea. And the small boat crew was led by Lieutenant H.T. Jewell, the XO of Algonquin, and the boarding party was unsuccessful trying to unshackle the anchor chain just because of the smoke and flames. They were able to get a towing hawser attached to Centennial, but it ended up burning due to the intense flames. But just a great picture collection here of the event on the 29th of July, 1930. And these next two photos of the funeral honor guard may be for William Messelbrook, who passed away in June 1930. He was a longtime member of the local Coast Guard boat crew, and so this could be for his funeral. And then the remaining photos just finish out the year 1930 for Algonquin. And on the 13th of August, she was underway to assist a racing vessel adrift about 400 miles off of San Pedro. Then on the 27th of September, she was underway assisting the tanker Sylvan Arrow, which was 160 miles off the coast. And she was en route to San Pedro from Japan. And then in October and November, she made her last cruise before being decommissioned down to Mexico. And then on the 21st of November, she was supposed to leave San Pedro and head to San Francisco to be decommissioned, but she got held up because she was under quarantine due to an outbreak of spinal meningitis. And then on the 26th of November, she pulled into the Navy Yard at Vallejo, California to have her guns removed. And then on the 11th of December, 1930, she was decommissioned in San Francisco. And just a fantastic photo album. We'd really like to thank Ferrel Harvey for compiling this and preserving this. And I'd love to hear your comments and hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this bit of history. Try to upload military and patriotic videos to my site here, about every other day. And if you're interested in a good read, check out my books at www.edsemler.com.